Hey everybody. So I wanted to talk to you today just about a little bit about my story and how and why I quit my job to travel. I talked to so many different people, and I think quitting and kind of having a different life seems kind of mysterious and different and kind of maybe unapproachable too. So I want to talk to you about that. And in the meanwhile, I'm here in my apartment in Chiang Mai, and I hope that it's not too loud outside. It's actually raining right now, but I just love the sound of the rain. So I really couldn't bring myself to close the window. So I hope it's okay. You can let me know if the sound of the rain is too much. But, I was working a typical job, like a 9 to 5, working in Hollywood, but it was a desk job, and I felt kind of trapped by it. It wasn't a ton of money, which is really a good thing, because I think if I had been making a lot of money, it'd be a lot harder to leave my job. Um, Thank you. I'm glad to hear that the sound is good. But so I think if I'd been making a lot of money, it would have been harder for me to leave my job. But so I had the benefit of just making enough to kind of get by. But I've been setting aside money, saving a little bit of money every month. And for people who are thinking about how to save money, it's definitely, I like to automate things. I would just automatically take a bit out of my paycheck, like $100 every month, set it aside. At the end of the month, it's over $1,000. At the end of the year, it's over $1,000. So I was doing that, and I'd done that for a number of years. So luckily, when I finally decided to quit my job, by the way, when I quit my job, I did not think I was quitting to travel long term. I actually quit my job thinking that I was just going to travel for like 2.5 months, and then I was going to go back to working, and that was going to be it. But it was like after I came back from my first trip, I just really felt so uninspired. LA is a great city. Yeah, sure. I worked in a few different places. So when I first started out in television, I was working in, and for those of you who can't see, he was asking what agency I worked at. But when I first started out working in television, I actually worked in New York, and I worked for CBS News in New York. Then I actually went to Florida, worked for CBS as a TV news reporter in Tallahassee. But then when I went out to Hollywood, I worked for WME. And that's definitely public knowledge. I was in the Hollywood Reporter, with the mailroom. I started out in the mailroom at WME. And then I worked at a TV production company. I actually worked for the company that created The Voice. So all like jobs that, on the surface seem kind of fun. But, to be honest, when I was working in Hollywood and in TV, a lot of people seemed unhappy. And it was true even at every spectrum of the financial kind of range, right? Like I was not making a ton of money. I was working as an assistant. I was obviously working at good companies, but like the money was just fine. LA is really expensive to live there. But so even when I looked at my bosses and different people who were making like a lot of money, people did not seem like happy and really satisfied in their lives. So like their jobs was not really a goal for me. So I felt like I needed to do something different. But so when I left, I thought I was only going to be gone for like 2.5 months, 3 months max. I was going to come back, get a normal job again, and get back into that grind. And then when I started traveling, wow, it was like I met all these people who were like traveling long term. I met people who were traveling for like months, years, people who were just traveling indefinitely. And I started talking to people. I just assumed they were all wealthy, because I'm not, by the way. I don't come from money. So the money that I have is money that I've saved and stuff like that. So I just assumed that people came from money. Some did, but a lot didn't, or they weren't using their parents' money. What was this? Did I ever have the WTF moment? I worked in Hollywood, so there were a lot of WTF moments and aha moments. Okay, here's one moment that I was really like, really? So that is, I had a moment where there were, one in particular. So I needed to I was working for a company that was rather small. So because the company was small, people had a lot of different tasks to do. So I was trying to help with this one TV show being sold, and it was really like this important job. So we're all preparing for this TV show to be sold. And someone in my office wanted me to like reorganize a file cabinet, which is also like a dumb task. It's not time sensitive. That can be done at any point in time, whatever. So I'm focusing on the thing that I think is more time sensitive. So whatever. So finally, this dude gets annoyed that like some file cabinet hasn't been like reordered. He sends like the nasty. He's like, so in Hollywood, definitely going behind someone's back and doing something is common, but it's also very shady. So he like wrote my boss like behind my back, like about how things weren't getting done. Oh, I was really like annoyed by it. And then like when I wrote the dude, like, cause then my boss forwarded me the message saying like, hey, stuff isn't getting done. What's happening? And so whatever, it was like a whole long thing. But what I ultimately realized was like, I don't care. Like I didn't care about any of that, like they were treating this one thing like it was so important, and I genuinely didn't care at all. You know what I mean? Like reorganizing this file cabinet, it was like some life or death thing. Like people were so worked up. I gave 0, right? So that was one thing. And so that was also like an aha moment. But I'll tell you what, I was actually at The Voice one day. So I used to go to the recordings of The Voice all the time. And so I was there for one of the recordings of the show, and Ed Sheeran was actually performing, right? And he's singing Photograph, and like the music is going, and like the band is playing, and I'm like listening, and it's like so nice. And I don't know, I had this overwhelming feeling that like Ed Sheeran was like living his passion. Now, by the way, I don't know Ed Sheeran. I didn't meet him. I was just there at the filming. But like, I don't know. That's just like how I felt. I felt like he was living his dream. And like in that moment, I felt like I can live my dream. Like, I want that for me as well. Like it's not just Ed Sheeran who gets to do what he wants to do. Like I want to live the life that I want to live. And I promise you that living the life I want to live has nothing to do with reorganizing someone's irrelevant files in my life. So, that was definitely a moment where I was like, okay, I need to reorder some things. Like I'm living a life that I genuinely don't care about. I was living a life that did not inspire me on any level. So that was sort of a moment where I realized I needed to do something, and I didn't intend to be gone for so long. I didn't intend to be a long-term traveler, but once I started traveling and I met people who were doing it long-term, I realized it was possible. And I never knew it was possible. Like when I lived in New York and when I was in Florida and I was working in news and in TV, like no one told me this was an option. Like, oh, by the way, you can quit and go to Thailand and like live in an apartment for $200 a month. Absolutely. It's true. Like either you are living your own dream or you're working to fulfill someone else's. And the sad thing is that a lot of us, the person whose dream we're fulfilling, we don't even know that person. They're so far removed, right? Like it's the CEO of some huge company that we don't even interact with, It's like, so I think it's cool to be here in Chiang Mai in Thailand where I am now, because so many people are working for themselves. So many people have a really different vision for their life and for what they want from their life. So it's really inspiring to be around. So now your username says LA. So I guess you're out there. Are you grinding, trying to make it in LA, doing some big moves? I would love to know about that and see what you're interested in as well. LA, like I said, I do love LA. There are things that I miss about it, which is mainly the food, because I am a vegan, and the vegan food in LA is really next level. It's amazing. I haven't found anything that comes close to it yet. Okay, so you're born and bred, a rare breed. But so yeah, there are things that I do miss, but ultimately it's really nice to do something a little bit different, and to build. I'm definitely still in the newbie phase of building this online career for myself. And that's also why I wanted to document this and to kind of share this with you guys, because I want to show you all that it's possible. I'm learning for myself about all the different ways to live this life, and I felt so inspired by all the digital nomads that I was meeting and just seeing that it was actually real, that it's actually normal people who are doing it. Yes, meeting people on the road. Yeah. this other thing, like when you have a normal job in LA or in the US, it is so hard to travel. I mean, when you get 2 weeks off a year and you have to use some of those weeks to go home for Christmas, okay, you're in LA, so you're already there. But if you have to go home for Christmas, you want to go home for Thanksgiving, maybe you're going home for Hanukkah, there's lots of different things you might want to go home for. But, it starts eating into your time off. You don't have time to go all the way to somewhere like Thailand. I mean, it's not worth the jet lag, it's not worth the long flight. So a lot of people really don't have the opportunity to travel much in the States, which is really unfortunate because there are so many interesting countries out there. And it's not even just about the travel experience. I think what I'm finding that's interesting is people who just want to set their own rules. And I think that's ultimately what it's about, more than even the travel and more than the exotic locations. It's nice, but what it really offers more than like the pretty locations is freedom. Freedom from just having someone else tell you what to do all day. It's freedom from having a job that's uninspiring. But at the same time, that freedom is tough, because when it's just you having to set your own goals, having to figure things out on your own, like, I don't want to sugarcoat it. It's not super easy all the time. It's definitely a grind. I'm reading this comment. Yeah, absolutely. I think that is, the thing that I love about LA TV and film is that the media has a real transformative power. And I think that it's great for people like you to be in LA, people who are thinking about things differently, people who want to be in the industry. And of course, I still have lots of friends in LA and who work in TV and film, and they have so much to contribute. And I think the sad part is that in LA, it is so hard to work your way up. Thank you. I hope so too. But it's like, it's so hard for people who don't have family connections or inside connections in LA to work their way up. I mean, it's tough. Like, the people who I know who their parents, let's say, were at the head of a company, they were assistants for like 1 year, literally, and then they're promoted. They're executives. The people who didn't have the industry connections, they're assistants for 5 years, 10 years, literally. Trying to work their way up to do something. And it's not because they're not talented. It's like the talent is not the primary thing in order to be successful in LA, or in order to get promoted. And I don't think everyone really realizes that from the outside. People should realize it, because I think it's part of why there's so many box office flops, right? Like, when you're not looking for the most talented people always to get things done, and you're just looking for your friends, sometimes, we all know, sometimes friends mess up. We've all had friends, kind of do some silly things. But because when you're choosing friends over competence, hopefully your friends are competent. That can happen. But it's not always the case, and a lot of decisions in LA, they're based on other things. So, wanted to chat with you guys. Oh, you used to work for the devil. There's a lot. So we could talk more about that at some point. But that's funny. And the truth is, though, I don't want to demonize people, because I've actually had really great bosses too. So I wrote a book about working in Hollywood. It's called Hollywood Insanity. It's all nonfiction, real stories about what it was actually like working in LA. And of course, in the book, I talk about my boss, who was like driving me crazy, where I was like crying, in bathrooms and like trying to make it. But the truth is, I also had wonderful experiences, right? Like, I had a boss that was great and supportive, and I had another boss that was cool. There's ranges, right? One was great, cool, and then monstrous also. So, there's all that there. But the point is that people aren't necessarily trapped. This is what I've learned. I learned I wasn't trapped. For a while, I thought I was, and I feel privileged to have been able to travel for a couple months, meet people who were able to show me that there are other options out there. So that's what I want to share with you guys, the fact that there are other options. And on this channel, I'm going to be posting daily, except I might give myself a Sunday off, right? Just because That seems nice. But I'm going to be posting pretty much every day. And I'm going to have interviews with experts at least once a week, people who are digital nomads or who are doing something cool and interesting. And I'm just going to share the journey with you as far as what travel is like, what being a digital nomad is like. And we can also have Hollywood chats. If you guys are interested in hearing more about Hollywood, what it's like, so if you want to hear some horror stories, if you want to hear dating horror stories, oof, those are in the book. What's your day like, or does it change depending upon the location? It does change, and I'm changing locations soon because I have to. That's the thing with being in Thailand and foreign countries. There's always a limit to how long you can stay on visas. But my typical day is, the best thing about my day is that I don't set alarm clocks, ever, because why would I? I work for myself. So that's one of the biggest changes to this life that I'm living. But by the way, that doesn't mean that like I'm sleeping until noon. I think that's what people might think. But I might wake up at 7, but it's when I wake up. My body might wake up at 7, could be at 9. But I usually just wake up early. I'm a person that I prefer working from home a lot of the time. So I just wake up, get on my computer. I'm doing daily videos. Creating some content for my website. One big project I've been working on lately that's taken up the bulk of my time is I'm making a course for Udemy. So that's been a lot of my day. But going to co-working, talking to other digital nomads, just not always on camera, but sometimes just one-to-one, and kind of getting advice is kind of like what's taking up the bulk of my time right now. I'm like learning and trying to grow. So that's kind of what my day is like right now. But soon I'll be going to Myanmar, so things should definitely be a bit different, and I'll definitely be posting and showing you guys what that is like. So you can leave a comment, let me know things that you're curious about, what you want me to talk about. Like if there's a certain question or topic you have that I can do another video on, I'll totally, do that. And yeah, and I'll check in with you guys later. So see ya.